It's that time of the week. Yes, this week's Cult Movie Show, your weekly look at cult movies. Please welcome your hosts, Warren and Velvet.
Yes, it is that time of the week again. It is a podcast 27 of the Cult Movie Show, the first official podcast for 2017. I am, of course, Warren, and my co-host, as always, sitting beside me virtually, is the absolutely wonderful, gorgeous, amazing, funny, witty, talented, extraordinary Velvet Rose.
Hey, that's a hard intro to follow. Good thing we don't have any guests tonight. Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year.
Yes, and we did sort of say Happy New Year to each other last podcast, but we were sort of straddling time zones last podcast. But it is, of course, officially 2017 for everybody now. So, yes, Happy New Year, Velvet.
Happy New Year, Warren.
And,
what a cool show we got tonight.
Oh,
we didn't officially end 2016. So we got our bottom three and our top three films tonight, and then followed with a mini movie review and some other movie reviews. So it's going to be a long show, but it's going to be a fun show.
Oh, it's going to be a good one. I'm really looking forward to this, and I'm looking forward to the way we're going to start it by sort of, finalizing 2016, as you said, with, what we thought were the worst movies that we saw throughout the year, and what were the best that we saw throughout the year. But of course, we are talking about the ones that we've reviewed. We're not just talking, guys, we're not talking about, going to see Sully at the cinema. We're actually talking about the ones that we actually reviewed. So, I suppose actually, just before we get started, just to let everybody know, the next few weeks, stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned.
Oh, yeah. It's so exciting. Yes.
Oh, we have got some guests lined up who are going to blow your mind. Oh my God. Yeah, if you like B movies, or you're into cult movies, or you even just like some of the movies that we've reviewed, you're going to like some of the guests who are coming up over the next few weeks. So January is going to be huge.
Yes.
I'm not going to say any names because I know as soon as I do, I jinx it. You know what I mean? And somebody gets the flu or somebody can't, so I'm not going to jinx it, but it's going to be fantastic. There you go.
Yeah,
see,
I'm
excited
too. And this is only the first month. I mean, seriously, this is just a sign of things to come. So I'm excited.
Oh, yes. No, it's going to be a good year. I'm looking forward to 2017. I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, totally.
Hopefully, fingers crossed anyway. So, so I suppose we should get started, shouldn't we, with our best and worst of 2017. So what we thought we'd do, guys, is we do our top three. So basically, my top three, Velvet's top three, worst and best of the movies that we did. So I think we're going to start with the worst. I think that's right, Velvet.
Definitely. So the worst three, or the bottom three, as I'm calling them. So I don't know how. I'm really dying to hear your list, because as you mentioned, this was not easy to narrow down three selections, because you had even more films to deal with than I did. I chose, my criteria first off was obviously it had to be movies that I've reviewed with you and possibly Gary, because when I first came on, I came on as a guest, and then subsequent episodes I became a host. So I am only encompassing the films that I've reviewed with you and or possibly Gary. So for me, that was almost a list of 50 possible movies to choose from, and narrowing it down to my three favorites and three worst from those was not easy. But you have way more movies to choose from than me.
I can't believe it's 50. Wow. It's 50 just with you and myself, let alone the movies that were all done with Gary. And remember too, we've had also, other people on. We've had Cliff from Only Funny to Us on.
Yes.
In fact, there was one podcast we did which was everybody was sick, and it was actually just me and Cliff that actually did the podcast.
Yes,
I think that was going back to like podcast, I don't know, it was 13 or
yeah, I think that was podcast 13. Yeah, totally.
You know, so there's so much stuff, you know, sort of in here to actually talk about. But I have to admit, the movies in my list tend to fall more in our time, Velvet, rather than
mine too.
But I must admit there is one that doesn't.
Okay.
So it'd be interesting just to see what your thoughts are on that one anyway. So
right.
So let's get started. So
let's do it. Okay, so I can't wait to hear your list. So I'll start off. So we're starting off with our bottom three. These are the three films that of all the films we reviewed in 2016 that we just thought were the worst of the worst. So I don't know what your qualifications were, but I'm going to tell you about my qualifications real quick. So for me, I ultimately decided what I needed for this to be on either of these lists was replay value. So in the bottom three, the replay value is obviously like non-existent. It's like you see this movie one time and that's enough. You don't want to see it again. Some other things were obviously if it's something I saw once and I was like once is enough, it had to be a movie I did not like. So I mean, I think I'm pretty open-minded, but there were a couple that I was like, I just did not like this movie. It could have been because it had like plot holes. It was poorly written, just unanswered questions, just left you unsatisfied. So those are my criteria for what hit the bottom three. So let's start with my number three.
All right.
And the funny thing is, I actually wrote a note to remind myself to say this. I think this is really funny. All of my bottom three are films that you selected to review for the show.
Oh my God. Oh, just twist, put the knife in and twist it a bit deeper.
But at the same time, that's not really saying anything. I just thought it was funny. I was like, oh, these are actually films that he selected. All right, number three, this film, I think you already knew this was going to be on my list. For me, number three was from episode 26, just from our last podcast, Turkey Shoot, the Ozploitation film. I hated that movie. Oh, God. Number three, Turkey Shoot. Ozploitation at its absolute worst.
Oh, how could you possibly put Turkey Shoot? It stars Linda Stoner. How could you possibly do this?
It was almost number one. So
oh my goodness,
it was number three. So it's two worse than this one.
So what were the killers for this one for you?
Oh man, I don't want to recap my whole review from episode 26 since we just talked about this movie, but just all the stuff I didn't like. I didn't like the rape themes. I didn't like the nonsensical plot. I didn't like the bad special effects. I didn't like seeing children getting beaten up, children getting set on fire. I mean, what else can I say? I mean, I can say nothing good about this movie. I did not like it at all whatsoever. I do not recommend it.
It's fascinating that you list this one because I freely admit it's a shit film, right? I mean it's a shit film. Okay, I grant you that, but not it to be in the top three. I mean, because see, for me, I judge the movie on does it meet up to expectation? Like, if I watch it, did I get from it what I was hoping to get from it? And so forth. And Turkey Shoot, it's a bit like, I think I said this on the podcast 26, it's a bit like Snakes on a Plane. You get exactly what you're told you're going to get, you know? Like if you went to the cinema to watch Snakes on a Plane, you knew that's all the movie was going to be about, right? So, yeah. and Turkey Shoot it's for me it's like that because it was Ozploitation. It is exactly that. It's exploitation. It's meant to deal with every taboo subject that there is, and it's meant to be gross and gory and sexual and all the rest of it. So for me, it's a bit like it's a shit movie, but I don't think it's actually bad because it lived up to the expectation that it promised. That's just my thought on it.
Okay, so that's my number three for the bottom three. So that's your criteria, is that it didn't live up to expectations. Do you want to talk more about your criteria for how you're rating your bottom three? Yeah,
there's a bit more. I mean, did it or did it live up to expectations? also, much the same as you said, reviewing. Would I watch the movie again? And even like in 2 years' time, would I watch it again? And if the answer is no, or if I've bought this movie from Amazon or I've paid for it on iTunes and I sort of go to myself, holy crap, yeah, all right, that was $15 I'm never getting back, or that's an hour and a half I would have rather to have been, I don't know, cleaning the toilet, rather than actually watching the movie. That's sort of the criterion. So, and my number 3, here is, I'm going to stick the knife in a little bit here, Velvet. The Eye Creatures.
That one was a contender for me. That was like in my top 10 when I was narrowing down the list. Go on. So tell me more about why Attack of the Eye Creatures.
Attack of the Eye Creatures. It's it obviously was as we said at the time. Now I can't remember what podcast it was from. I didn't write this down, and I should have done it.
I'll find it for you guys. No problem. Go ahead.
So it's I mean, it is cheap as chips. It is just so cheaply made. The fact that it was all shot in the daytime and they simply just use the blue filter for night and they take the blue filter off for day, but they often forget to put the filter on. So sometimes it's nighttime, but the sun's shining, and the next minute it's nighttime and the blue filter's on. So it was so badly made. And the creatures,
that's episode 18 for anybody who wants to hear our full review.
and the creatures were just so badly put together, and there was no explanation whatsoever of why these creatures had actually come to Earth. And also the military in this movie, and some people may have cheered at this, I don't know, others won't, were just portrayed as bumbling buffoons who were more interested in voyeurism than they actually were in trying to keep the Earth safe from alien invasion. It was just horrible.
No, that movie was absolutely awful. And like I said, it didn't make my bottom 3, but it was in my bottom 10 list. And so it was definitely a contender. It could have been a contender.
It could have been. Oh, yes.
Yeah,
that was,
definitely.
Yeah, so yeah.
That was bad.
That
was enough
bad
for me on that one.
Yeah, that was
and that was
bad.
one I actually recommended for review. So see, it goes both
Oh,
ways.
yes, I know. We've both got the knives out tonight, so so we're just going to twist it a little bit, put it in a bit deeper, twist it a bit more. So what was your number 2 then, Velvet? What was your second worst?
Number 2 is one we both did not like, and this was from episode 23. So if you want to check out that review, this was for UFO, or as it's known in the US, Alien Uprising. What a piece of nonsensical high-budget piece of crap. I mean, seriously, it's special effects, CGI, Jean-Claude Van Damme's in it, aliens look like humans, but they have a purple tattoo on their inner thigh, and I just had sex with a lady, but I don't know if she has a fucking tattoo on her thigh, even though my face was most likely between her legs 5 seconds ago. I hated that movie so bad. So bad. Hated it. Oh, God. What do you think, Warren?
It was, well... This is really interesting because I'm going to cut in here and say, guess what my second worst movie was?
Really? Same one? Really?
Same one. It was UFO Alien Uprising, yes. So
fucking bad.
So here we go. We actually agree on one. It was, yeah, look, I agree. It was absolutely horrendous. The budget seemed quite good. The special effects were extremely good. But the story just didn't make any sense.
None whatsoever, and a waste of a A-list star name. I mean, like, whether you like Jean-Claude or not, he's pretty much well known, and he could definitely get a better role than this. Just he could basically just cameo himself in every movie and get paid to do that. But he chose to take on a role where he was sorely underutilized, and also, honestly, his death in that movie was so undignified.
I know, and the main star of our movie, I know it has a lot to do with the script, but it was so overacted the SAS or the ex-SAS officer was, it was so overacted, you know, it was just, it was like him playing the tortured soul, but he wasn't just playing the tortured soul, he was playing the tortured soul who had been put on the rack 20 times, twisted, split in half, gutted, four-quartered. I mean, it was just absolutely, it was a terrible performance. You know, and also the way the movie just went into all these weird different side plots all the time. You know, where the friend tries to rape the other guy's girlfriend. What did that have to do with the movie? You know?
That was, and also, again, waste of talent. I forgot to mention Sean Pertwee was also in this that we know from Hal and was it Dog Soldiers, as well as he plays Alfred on Gotham, right?
Yes.
Now he's in this movie, and it's like, why do you have these big name stars in here that are in these shitty roles that add nothing to the plot, really?
I just think, I mean, once again, Sean Pertwee was, it was a very short role. It was almost like a cameo once again, like Jean-Claude Van Damme in this movie. Yeah. I think it was seriously just to get his name on the title, you know, not anything
Definitely.
else. Because I love Sean Pertwee. I think he's great. And
he's great, but this movie still sucks.
I know. And a lot of people don't realise too that he is, of course, the son of the great John Pertwee, who, of course, was the third Doctor in the TV series Doctor Who. So there's a bit of trivia for you too. Yes, if you didn't know, he is, of course, the son of a doctor. But even if you love
Jean-Claude and even if you love Sean Pertwee, you don't want to watch UFO or Alien Uprising, as it's known in the United States. Don't waste your time, people. No, don't do it. Go run an errand, take a nap, do some push-ups, anything. Don't watch this movie. That was both our number twos.
Yes, I know. And I have to say, too, I never worked out from that movie, was there one species of alien or two species of alien?
Yeah, because there was like a little black furry thing that I'm pretty sure was supposed to be an alien, and they never followed up on it.
And were they meant to be, was one of them meant to be on our side? Were they meant to be fighting each other and we were caught in the middle? Were the aliens... aliens infiltrated Earth, and that's why the other aliens came to kill these aliens who would
so
it was never explained.
Unanswered questions.
No,
and none of them get answered. Yeah, it's just not a satisfying film at all.
No.
Did not like it at all.
So,
okay.
Your number one then, Velvet, your number one worst film, and I'm wondering whether we're going to agree on this as well.
I was just thinking the same thing. Okay. This, again, like I said, you recommended all three of these movies that I deemed the worst pieces of excrement that I saw last year. Doesn't mean you don't have good taste. It just means you made some bad choices.
Oh, no, I try to enjoy excrement on toast, obviously, you know, from the sounds of it.
No, all joking aside, this movie, you actually said last year this was the worst movie you had ever seen, and you did not disappoint. And it's actually my number one on my bottom three. It is Dark Web. From 2015, wasn't it? 2015, 2016.
Yes,
really recent.
Yes, really recent. Yeah, it was last year, I think, 2016, actually, or might have been 2015. Yeah, but oh my god.
Yeah, really bad. Really bad. So that's my number one. And they even knew the movie was a piece of shit because they actually got Danny Glover to do a part in the movie. And right in the opening credits, the ending credits, like anytime they have credits in the movie, they're like, "Thank you so much, Danny Glover, for being in our movie." I mean, that's basically what it says because they know this movie was a piece of shit. It was supposed to be kind of people are being kidnapped and they're forced to, kind of fight to the death, or actually one person gets kidnapped and you have a bunch of people hunting them. They pay to hunt this person, and then they stream it on the dark web to the highest bidder. So it's supposed to be, kind of like that taboo elite entertainment. Sounds like a cool plot, but this movie was boring and stupid and nonsensical. The acting was bad. It was just horrible. Oh.
No, look, I agree. It was... It was absolutely shocking. I mean, the whole premise I loved, because there was another movie that Gary and I reviewed earlier last year called The Den. And The Den was actually a very similar movie, but it had a good budget, a good plot, and the story worked. And it was a story of the dark web, and it really worked very well. Because obviously the dark web is it's a real thing. But the Den worked really well because the Den actually worked or played with the idea that this could actually really happen. Where the hunting of a person could actually really happen. And they sort of showed how it could happen. And the beauty, too, about the Den is it also shows you who were the people who were probably paying to watch it. And that was, and so it closed the circle. It was a really good film. But Dark Web was cheap, it was nasty. Yeah, the cast were beautiful. I have to admit that.
That was the only good thing. The cast was a good looking cast. But, they did so many dumb things in that movie, like you said. Like, for example, like in the very beginning of the movie, they're supposed to be kidnapping people. So this is something you need to be rather discreet about, right? If you actually want to kidnap somebody, they're driving through, the countryside with tanks. They're driving over cars. They blew up a NATO vehicle. Like, this is,
yes, I know.
I mean, not subtle at all. And just this movie just sucked. I hated it so much. I really did not like it.
and the weapons in them were literally carved out of wood. They were like toy guns from like the 1920s. They were seriously like toy guns that I remember when I was a kid. You went out into Dad's shed and workshop, got some bits of wood and made yourself. You know what I mean? That's what the weapons looked like. It was so bad. And the script was terrible. The acting was terrible. Danny Glover basically just Skyped his role in, quite literally.
He literally, yes. He's on a TV screen the entire movie, so they literally could have just like recorded a Skype performance.
But here's the other thing too. The lead character in this movie had never acted before, and I believe has never acted since. She's a model. She's not an actress.
Wow. Okay.
She's a model.
That explains why she's so beautiful.
Oh, yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, they cast a model, which is, I've no problems with models moving into acting. Many have, and many have gone on to be very, very successful. And I've got no problems with that. Singers sometimes act, actors sometimes sing. You look at Frank Sinatra. He was a great singer and he was a great actor. David Bowie. He was able to cross. So I have no qualms with any of this sort of crossing the lines and stuff. But she was just terrible. She was gorgeous, but she couldn't act. I'm sorry.
No. But nobody in that movie could except for Danny Glover.
I know. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, no, that movie was, we reviewed that in episode 22. So if you want to check out our full review, you can check out episode 22 of the Cult Movie Show podcast. Oh, yeah. Woo! What was your number one?
my number one was actually going to be the Dark Web, and I then changed my mind.
Okay.
Simply, and this might sound crazy, but its saving grace was its lead actress. She was so gorgeous, I could watch the movie again. Do you know what I mean?
There you go. If it has replay value, I mean, there you go. It's got
and also also for the girls out there, and I'll reverse this as well because obviously for gays and lesbians out there, just reverse it, okay? The lead, like the ones who are meant to be the sister and brother, okay, the brother, he is a hunk. I mean, he really was.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good-looking cast. Even the bad guys were not bad-looking. I mean, seriously, it was a good-looking cast. But for me, unfortunately, the replay value on that movie is still zero, regardless of how good-looking
Well, the thing for me is it was rewatch value, and to be truthful, I could watch it again just to see her run around the forest in those tiny little shorts and singlet, because it's worth it just for that.
Okay, so that one almost made it, but grace was it had replay value.
It had replay value. But the one which definitely is see once and see only once, and that is The Room.
Oh wow! Okay, go on.
All that I can really say is the worst scripts. Honestly, I think the script was worse than Dark Web, to be truthful. The acting was actually probably about on par with Dark Web, because I think the actors honestly just tried to do the best that they could with this appalling, script that they had. How the hell this movie, which was basically just 90% of it was shot in somebody's living room, how the hell it cost $6 million to make is just absolutely beyond me. And not only that, the man who made it is quite honestly insane. It just had nothing to save it. It was just so bad.
I told you, like, you always say the movie's so bad it's good. I say this movie's so bad it's fucking terrible. So this one didn't hit my bottom three, but it was definitely on my list, for the bottom three. It was definitely on the list of ones I chose from. The reason this one, like all other movies that didn't hit my bottom three, for me, this movie has replay value because I have watched so many videos making fun of this movie. I've watched countdowns where people literally just take chunks from the movie and play the scenes and talk about how bad they are. For me, this movie has tons of replay value just because it's so fucking terrible that, like, anytime I watch people making fun of this movie, I've had so many times where I've gone into laughing fits, where I've laughed talking about this movie. But it's terrible. No, it's fucking terrible. So I honestly not surprised that is your number one bottom film of 2016 that we've reviewed.
It's only saving grace in my thought is that you could turn it into a very, very good drinking game. And in fact, I believe there are
and
rules.
They've done that. And they have done that. There are drinking games.
You can download the rules, the drinking game for the room. So that's about its only saving grace, to be honest. And it's a bit like a Eurovision drinking game. If you start the room drinking game, just like the Eurovision drinking game, because obviously Eurovision is coming up in May, you will be plastered within the first 10 minutes. You'll pass out before the movie is over because, Tommy Wiseau is just, I just don't know what to say. I mean, how the hell the man with that thick of a Polish accent claims to have been born and raised in the United States is beyond me. The man is just nuts. The man is nuts. And, oh my God. Anyway.
And that is episode 16. So if you want to hear our full review, and I love how you actually start that review off. I've listened to us review that so many times because it's hilarious. You start that review off by saying, what should we call this movie? An abortion? But yeah, it's seriously horrible. If you want to hear us do the full review, you can check out episode 16, where we also had Monique Parent on as a special guest.
Oh,
that is
yes.
The smart man's sex symbol. Yeah, the thinking man's sex symbol. Monique Parent was a guest on that episode.
Oh, and she was absolutely wonderful, wasn't she?
Oh, yeah, she was a class act. She was great.
She was and very insightful too. She was. She had a lot of really interesting things to say and some very funny stories, like from working with Jim Wynorski and so forth. So that was a good podcast. That actually,
absolutely. I've listened to it so many times. Love it. Yeah. I'm my own. I'm our biggest fan.
No, I mean, look, I'd grown up, watching Monique's career. So to actually get a chance to talk to her was basically a dream come true. So she
was wonderful.
Yeah,
that was wonderful.
That was really, really good. All right. Well, I think that was our worst movies, and we actually agreed on one of them, which was pretty cool.
I wondered if we would.
That was pretty cool. We
almost had the same top 1 and 2, almost.
Almost. We could have. It came close. Came very close. So our top 3 then. Our top 3 for the Cult Movie Show podcast for 2016. So I think I'm starting. Is that right?
Yes.
Yep. I'm starting.
So what are your qualifications to get into your top 3 of 2016 of the movies that you've reviewed on the podcast? What were your qualifications or criteria?
A little bit different. Well, once again, rewatch value. Would I rewatch the movie? So if the answer is yes, it's going to automatically get into at least a top list, you know. Is it a movie that I'd be happy to buy rather than just rent? In other words, so can I rewatch it, you know, more than once? And also, was there a bit more to the movie? I mean, obviously, it needs to have a good script. It needs to be well shot. It needs to be well acted. But I suppose they're kind of fairly obvious things to say. But on top of that, for me too, I really do love a movie that has a message, or if it doesn't have a message, it takes an existing story and turns it on its head. They're things that I really, you know, sort of do like. So they would be some of my, there'd be lots. There's probably be hundreds of little things, but they'd be some of my main sort of criteria, I suppose.
Okay.
So I would start, and this was a really hard one, actually. This was, finding the best was actually harder.
I don't want to cut you off. I don't want to cut you off, but I'm going to cut you off because I always do.
I know.
I'm going to say this really quick. I actually have an honorable mention because coming up with my number 3 for the top 3 was really hard. So I wanted to throw out an honorable mention really quick, and I don't think you have any honorable mentions.
I do, actually.
So I wanted to go ahead. Oh, do you really? Okay, cool.
But I think it'll be the same. So you start. Go.
Okay. All right. Well, my honorable mention is actually for an independent horror film that we reviewed last year. I Know You're in There was my honorable mention, and this one almost got into my top 3. My qualification really quick was extremely high replay value. Is this something I would want to watch again? Yes, definitely. Also, is it something that if you rewatch it again, do you notice something different every time you watch it? And I Know You're in There has both of those qualities because you watch it the first time and you think you know what's happening. But if you watch it again, you're kind of like, well, I'm still not quite sure. And we actually had one of the actresses from the film, Grania McDermott, who plays a character in the movie. And she even gave us her theory on the film, but it still is not 100% solid. So I Know You're in There is my honorable mention for my top 3 of films we reviewed last year.
Well, you stole my thunder. Because I'm
so sorry.
No, because I was going to say I wanted to give an honourable mention as well. Because it doesn't matter who says it. It doesn't matter who says it. No, I thought it was a fantastic film. I loved it. I loved the cast. I loved the directing, the writing. It was shot so well. The fact that, you know, I still don't really know exactly, you know, where the story goes. Not because, not like in the sense of UFO where it was so stupid, but it's because it made me think of so many different possibilities. My mind is still churning over thinking about all the possibilities. So, no, it was a wonderful, wonderful film. And it was, I such high praise for it. Now, but it didn't make my top 3, but it did need a mention. I totally agree.
Yeah, okay, good. I'm glad we both gave that an honorable mention. Okay, so that was episode, let me find that really quick. That was episode 22, and we actually, or excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm lying. That was I just lost it. Episode 22 is where we had Grania McDermott, so if you actually would like to hear our interview with her, you can go listen to episode 22 to hear Grania McDermott, who's actually in that movie. But episode 20 is where we did the full review of I Know You're in There. And it is the best, for me, it's the best independent horror film that we reviewed in 2016. But it's not the best of the top 3, unfortunately, for me.
And the other honourable mention I wanted to give was Eye of Roshi.
Oh, okay.
I enjoyed that a lot more than I thought I would. I actually thought, oh, God, it's got Eric Roberts in it. And then as it started to go on, there was a cheapness to it, but I really loved what they did with it. And there were bits in there where I laughed out loud. I quite seriously sat there and started laughing, you know, at the comedy that had been put into it. I really liked it. So it gets a bit of a mention as well. But
okay, cool.
But my number 3, and this was so hard. And this one, it was going to be Pontypool, a movie from Canada, which is about the zombie apocalypse. but goes from a totally different, it just twists the whole story so much. But it wasn't the one that actually made it into the top 3 in the end. The one that did was Iron Sky, the German-Finnish-Australian cooperation movie about Nazis on the moon that was done with Gary and myself. And I absolutely loved this movie. It's just got so much in it. It makes a very serious point, about the future of the world, about war, about why we go to war, it's also about the fact that so many people over time have lost the idea of just how horrific the Nazis were. Because for people who didn't live through it or experience it, they sort of feel that maybe it wasn't quite as bad. And this movie shows that, no, it was every bit as bad. It's funny, it's interesting, it's filmed beautifully. I just loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I think we've got a slight technical difficulty because I have been talking to just you guys and myself. We have lost Velvet. So we're just going to take a quick pause and we'll be right back. We're back. Yes, just a slight technical issue there that happens from time to time. Welcome back, Velvet.
Thank you. And all I can say is if you want to listen to Warren's review of Iron Sky, that's episode 8 on the Cult Movie Podcast. So you can check that out.
With our good friend of the show, Gary, who I'm hoping, fingers crossed, is going to make a guest appearance back on the show, hopefully in a few weeks' time. So fingers crossed.
That would be great.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
His insight into cult cinema is just, it's second to none. Like, I just don't know anyone he's just a walking encyclopedia of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So he's so good. And he's also just a really nice guy too. So,
totally.
Classify him as a very good friend. So Iron Sky. Now, I don't know, I mean, I know obviously you weren't on that particular podcast, Velv, but have you seen Iron Sky or is it passed you by?
I haven't seen that one. I did see a Nazis on the Moon type of movie, but I don't believe it's the same one. I believe the one I saw was actually called Nazis on the Moon.
Nazis on the Moon.
So I don't think and the social commentary you're giving for your review of Iron Sky, I know it's not the same movie. So I haven't actually seen it. So I'm going to actually have to go watch it so I'm up to date on pop culture.
Iron Sky was basically treated to rave reviews by reviewers who said it was absolutely, brilliant. It's funny, it's technically really well done. It's got an amazing cast too. The cast is basically a mixture of German, Australian and American actors, and a few Finns thrown in there as well, obviously because the movie is 1/3 Finnish. It plays too with the culture of different nations so well, like the cultural differences between America, Germany, Finland and Australia. It is very good. It also takes the piss out of the North Koreans so much. The way anytime there's any sort of thing that goes wrong, the North Koreans put up their hand and take responsibility for it while everyone in the UN's just sitting there going, North Korea, we know it wasn't you. Okay. We know it was the Nazis on the moon. Stop trying to take credit for this, will you? It's very funny. I mean, the way that the Australian spaceship in it is called the Dundee, and they arrive in battle going, "Hey, Cobber, do you need a hand?"
Oh my God.
The way that the President of the United States is clearly and very openly meant to be Sarah Palin, and it is just a shit. The actress is just a car. She does it. If you thought Tina Fey was good, you need to see this movie. It's done so well. Some really, really well-known German actors are in this. So if you're a fan of German cinema and TV, you'll love it. It just plays with so much stuff. It's a brilliant film. Highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it, really say go and watch Iron Sky. Readily available. So that's my number 3.
Okay. My number 3 is actually your honorable mention. My number 3 is actually Eyes of the Roshi. I was like, that was, like I said, it was tough. I was like, oh, getting it down to that top 3. But yeah, I decided to go ahead and put Eyes of the Roshi, which is also an independent film, not currently available to view by the public. Sorry about that, but we constantly tweet about them so you can hear our review on episode 21. And when it does become available, you'll be able to see it. They're actually getting ready to do a screening in Virginia in a theater, which is going to be cool. But yeah, not readily open for everybody to view yet. But we had the privilege of screening it for review. So Eyes of the Roshi. This movie was just, gosh, it was just so different from everything else that we've watched last year that I was like, yeah, I just have to give this movie a spot because first off, I've only seen the movie once, and it still sticks with me. I want to see the movie again, and I want to see it a couple more times. There was a lot of diverse characters. They all had, just like any human, have their own story, and you get little glimpses into their story, and there was just so much going on in this movie. It had action, it had, humor, it had, platonic friendship, it had romantic love lost. I mean, it had a revenge plot line. And then the standout performance from Ethan Martin as the hitman. I mean, really, just this movie was just such a unique piece of independent filmmaking that really, when you boil it down, the story is really very simple. But somehow they took this really simple plot line and it just hooks you in and you watch this movie and you're like, God, what is going to happen? And just all the way up into the ending, you're surprised. You're just like, didn't see that coming. So yeah, for me, this was my number 3 best film that we reviewed in the year 2016, Eyes of the Roshi.
And what's the classic line? Do you remember?
It's a good one.
I know. And
you have to watch the movie to get the reference.
Yes, and I must say too, as a special shout out to Ethan Martin, who. I'm not going to say very much, but
let's just say he's a friend of the show.
Friend of the show. We'll just say that. So keep listening. He's a friend of the show, so not Ethan to keep listening, but for everybody else to keep listening. I think you know where I'm heading with that. I'm not trying to give spoilers, but I think you know where I'm heading with that. So oh God, I'm so freaking excited about that. I really am, actually.
Me too.
Yeah, I know. Look, I agree. Great film. Absolutely great film. Ethan's, in that he was brilliant. He was so good.
Mm-hmm.
And, also Grandmaster, I forgot his name. Grandmaster Adam, who plays Roshi. He was really good. Actually, I wasn't sure about him when the movie started. I sort of thought, God, where is this going to go? But I really bonded with him as the movie started to, move along. And of course, Eric Roberts in this, he's really funny. He is really funny in this. He camps it up, actually. He really does. He is really good in this movie. No, I agree with you. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, now Eric Roberts, like I said, he's just a professional actor, and he, like you said, he camps it up, but he's still very smooth in the way he portrays his character. He's a charismatic asshole in this movie.
Yes.
So you have to see this movie when it comes out, people.
Oh,
totally.
Absolutely.
All right, episode 21 is where you can hear our full review of Eyes of the Roshi.
And great film. Great film. So it's my number 2 now, isn't it? It's my number 2. And this one might surprise everybody, but this had a lot to do with I spoke before about the message that it made, how well it was shot, how well it was acted, and would I watch it again because I think there was more to get from it. And it is Look Who's Back. From Germany. Now, this would have been one of our earlier episodes, I think, Velvet, I think.
I'll look it up for you and go ahead and talk more and I'll find the episode.
It's of course the story of Adolf Hitler who comes back to life in modern day Germany and tries to make a comeback. But what's hilarious about the movie is he tries to make a comeback as Adolf Hitler. We know he's Adolf Hitler, but nobody else in the movie does. They just think he's an actor playing Adolf Hitler. And it's a movie that not only is well written, well acted, and well shot, but it has an amazing storyline that it tells. And it's not really telling the story so much about Hitler. it's telling a story about the rise of, I suppose, ultra-nationalists and so forth that we are starting to see re-emerge today. And it tells that story about how it is so easy, in, what was it, when was this film from? 2015, I think, 2015. Yeah. But now, and we're seeing it now more and more and more. I mean, what, in the United States, possibly in France, we are seeing this rise of ultra-nationalism. And this movie just shows you how easy it is to gain power, by, playing with these ideals. And it's not bad people who support them. They just get caught up in it. And, right. And that's why I absolutely, sort of love this movie. I also thought too, for Germany itself, for the German people, and you would, I think, know so much more about this, Velvet, obviously, with your, your big German connections, is that, to me, it seemed like this was a healing movie for Germany itself as a nation.
Yeah, I think it was a healing movie as well as also an informational movie. That may sound a little goofy, but like you said, the movie does have a message. And you can see from the way this movie was shot, because they did kind of like what I like to call the Borat style, where they had the actual actor dress up as Adolf Hitler and go out in public. And honestly, I've seen in interviews with the actor, he honestly thought he was going to get in trouble, but people were like saluting him, taking pictures with him. They just thought it was great. Like, whereas, every once in a while you came across the old timers that are like, I ought to kick your ass for dressing like that. So there's that disconnect between the youth culture of today and the past. And so this movie, I think, is a good bridge to remind people of the past, but also, like you said, to move on and heal, because this movie does have a lot of humor in it. So, yeah, this is a great pick for number 2. I can see why this is in your top 3. This movie was on my short list. When I was making my top 3 list. This was on my short list.
Well, one of the things I've always found amazing about this movie is that one of Hitler's biggest fans in this movie is a young Jewish woman. And that's what I found so interesting about this movie, because it wasn't, it was this whole idea that she wasn't drawn to him because of the past. She was drawn to him because of the future. And that's that concept of ultranationalism that we're seeing today. And that's where, we see so many people today being drawn to ultranationalist causes, where those causes are probably most likely going to hurt the very people who are supporting them, and like in this movie, one of his biggest fans is a Jewish woman. And of course, if Hitler comes to power, she's going to be for the chop. But she is one of the people helping to get him to power,
Exactly.
It was just a fascinating, absolutely fascinating movie. I cannot speak highly enough about, Look Who's Back. I really can't.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, this is definitely one of those movies that if you're a big movie fan, you definitely need to see this one. It's a great piece of German cinema. And just the way that they deliver the story, they tell a message. There are comedic moments, but at the end of the movie, they bring it back together to remind you, hey, you may be laughing, but this is some serious shit deep down under. So, we reviewed that in episode 14. We also had Alana Evans as our special guest. So if you want to check out that episode and hear the full review, that's episode 14. Look Who's Back.
Cool.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Is it your go or is it my go? I've lost track.
My go.
It's okay. Your go.
Okay, so my number two. So again, really quick, my qualifications or criteria to hit my top 3 was replay value. Is this something I want to see again? Does it have a yearly or a seasonal tradition? Like, is this something that it's not only would I watch it again, but will I watch it at a certain time every year? And do you need repeated viewings to get the full story? And when we originally reviewed this film, we were like, I said, I didn't notice that the stories interlink until the second time I watched it. And you didn't realize the stories interlinked until we were talking about it. So, there's more to this story than just a horror story. What am I talking about? A Christmas horror story. This is literally part of my yearly tradition now. I already know this year in December, this is going to be one of the movies that I'm going to watch, along with my other list of movies that I watch every year in the month of December. So Christmas Horror Story, it just totally refreshed the whole Christmas horror genre. It was no longer just some psycho dressed up as Santa killing people. There's the evil Christmas spirit. There's zombie elves. There's a changeling. There's a ghost story. There's William Shatner. There's the special effects, the music. I mean, this is a really well-made anthology, Christmas-themed horror movie, and it's now a part of my yearly Christmas tradition. So that's my number 2.
Well, I can't speak highly enough, actually, of this film. I mean, this movie is fantastic. There's not a bad actor in the bunch. The stories are so well thought out. The way, and yes, you're quite right, because I didn't realize at first, it wasn't until later, because there was so much going on. The difference with this movie to a lot of anthology movies is the stories run side by side rather than one after the other.
Exactly.
And so it took me a bit of time to realize, oh yes, of course, he's the character from that short, which is linking this bit to that bit, and then even William Shatner who's meant to be the radio host, gets relinked, so everybody is related, in some way. And no, it was brilliant. And even William Shatner, I think once again showed that he is actually good at doing comedy. Because William Shatner's role, apart from just holding the whole film together or keeping the story, not holding the film together, but keeping the stories or linking the stories together, is that he's really very funny in this. He's got some great one-liners and some great little statements. And
because this movie needed a little bit of comic relief, because all the stories are very seriously done. There's like almost no comic relief in this movie. Well, except for the zombie elves. Come on, that one is kind of funny.
That's pretty cool.
That one's kind of funny.
But for me, the thing that was most poignant, I suppose, about it is the ending, is how this movie ends.
Yes.
And the thing about this, without giving too much away, is that, and I'm hoping that people will have watched it by now anyway, but for those who haven't, it's shall we just say we're dealing with all these different horror elements, zombies, the Krampus, ghosts, all this different sort of horror stuff, but the whole movie comes down at the very end to real horror.
Yes.
Horror in that's real
very
life.
Well said.
Not fantasy horror. And that's what I really loved about this film. I thought that was so well done. That was just so well done, the way they did it. Yeah. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, so that was episode 25, which was perfect for December 25th, our Christmas special. So if you want to check out our full review of A Christmas Horror Story, or A Holiday Horror Story, as it's sometimes known as in the United States, you can check out episode 25.
Yep. Now, my number 1, I think, yes. And
drum roll.
And I have a sneaking suspicion that a lot of listeners are going to know what it is.
I think I know, but let's see.
And it is the day no, it's not. No, it is. It is Sheena, Queen of the Jungle.
I thought you might say that.
Could it really be anything else? For me. Okay, why? Well, anyone who knows me knows how much I love the whole Sheena character. It's like some people are obsessed with Superman. Some people are obsessed with Spider-Man. Some people are obsessed with Tarzan. They see all the Tarzan movies. They buy all the comic books. All the rest of it, right? For me, it's Sheena. I own every single episode that was ever put onto TV. I own the movie in multiple formats. I have the storybooks in my bookshelf. I absolutely adore this story. And it's not just because we've got this really hot blonde chick running around Africa wearing virtually no clothes. Okay. It's not actually really about that. The thing I love the environmental message that this movie tells. And not just the movie, also the TV series and the books and all the rest of it. The story that it tells, that, it's like, the thing is that Sheena fights for the environment. She doesn't fight for people. She doesn't fight for values. She doesn't fight for politics. She just fights for the planet Earth and not the people on planet Earth, but for the animals, for the plants, to make sure the rivers stay clean, that we can drink clean water, that the sky is clean. It's like, and I just love this whole thing. And the idea that this whole concept of Sheena, the eco-warrior, started in Britain in the 1930s, I just think is just brilliant. And I think the movie itself, when it was made in the 80s, it captured the heart, of that story, but at the same time gave a lot of young guys out there a glimpse at just how gorgeous Tanya Roberts actually is. Because, and we get to see pretty much everything that Tanya Roberts has to offer. Not just her acting skills, but we see absolutely everything else. And look, she was gorgeous on Charlie's Angels. She was gorgeous in everything that she's ever done. But my God, she's gorgeous in this.
I thought this might be your number one. No, this is definitely a movie worth watching at least once if you've never seen it. I actually, once I started watching it, was like, oh, I actually remember seeing parts of this movie when I was a kid. So, I mean, it's definitely, it's worth seeing. Just the whole location in itself is worth seeing. They did actually film in Africa. They had to fly in animals from the United States to Africa, which is funny because they needed trained animals. They had to make sure the actual African animals didn't eat the
yes, I know,
eat the Hollywood trained animals. But I mean, the actual landscapes and all the animals, and it's really a visual treat to watch that movie. I can see why it's your number one. And plus, like you said, the whole eco message, and it really is a lovely film. I can see why it's your number one. But it's not my number one.
No, well, what is your number one?
Okay, my number one's actually a movie you recommended last year that I'd never seen. Every time you talk about it, I didn't know what the hell you were talking about. Then I watched the movie, I didn't know what the hell I was watching. I had to watch it again. It is the Japanese classic, What the Fuck Cinema, The Weather Woman.
Oh my God, now that was unexpected. I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming.
Extremely high replay value. I've seen it twice. I could watch this again and again, just because every time you watch it, you know there's something different. It's just such a crazy story. It's it's based on a comic book. That's probably why it's such a crazy movie, because you have people doing all this real life stuff. And also, in my case, I needed repeated viewings to get the full story, and I still don't think I have the whole story, to be honest, because there's just little bits and pieces here and there where I'm kind of like, what? Wait, what are they doing? Wait, what? But I enjoy it. I'm not frustrated by it. I'm so entertained by it. And just telling people about this movie, they're just like, what? And anything that elicits a response like that, that's great cinema. That's just, anytime I even just think about the name of this movie, it brings a smile to my face. It's just, this is the only movie where I'm just like, I have to see this again, because it's just so over the top and crazy and all over the place. And there's masturbation and people are flying around, and it's just weird. And there's music, and it's just hilarious. It's just so weird.
An all singing, all dancing comic book story of a woman who presents the weather. It is just absolutely amazing. Look, I'm really glad that I was able to suggest something to you, Velvet, that you really liked. This movie I first discovered, 20 years ago, I think it was, when it was actually played late on a Saturday night on a TV station we have in Australia called the SBS, and it's a free-to-air network, and they used to have on Saturday nights a cult movie show, bit like us, but they actually played the movies. And I got to see this for the first time, and I fell in love with it. It's funny, it's good to watch, it's crazy, it's out there. And I must admit, the lead actress in this, Kia Mizutani, is absolutely stunning. She is absolutely stunning, and it is a fantastic movie. It really is.
And I mean, this is really what cult cinema is about. Is it goes against the conventions of normal cinema, and it also develops a devoted following that will watch the movie again and again and tell people how great it is. So it's only fitting that my number one film of the year for 2016 is actually a cult film, and that is The Weather Woman. You can hear our full review on episode 16.
Oh, cool. Well, that was the year that was. That was 2016. So, wow. And I can't believe just how many movies we've actually talked about.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
yes,
Yeah, the amount, because I mean, look, we're at what podcast, was it, well, this is 27.
27.
So that's 26 podcasts we actually did in 2016. And we only started, in May, I think the show actually originally started. And of course, some of the very, very early podcasts, I don't know, 1 through 6 or something, I'd actually say to people, don't even worry about, because it was, those podcasts were actually, if you haven't listened to them, they were sort of a learning experience. They were actually me learning how to run a podcast.
You were finding yourself.
I was finding. I was learning how to run mixing boards. I was learning how to bring people in, from the other side of the world and be able to record it and put it on air and put it on iTunes and all and all this sort of stuff. So, but then Gary came along. I think it would have been about, I don't know, podcast 7 or something like that, and everything changed. And then of course, Velvet, you came along, and we haven't looked back. It's been so much fun,
definitely.
Yeah, it's been so much fun. So, look, that's brilliant. Well, I reckon both of us just need to probably drink a gallon of water after talking so much like that. And so we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back, fully starting 2017.
It's time to get excited, short film fans. It's mini movie review time.
Yes, it most definitely is. And I know that this is a favourite little spot for many of our listeners, the mini movie review. I was actually quite stunned when we started doing this, Velvet. How long have we been doing the mini movie review for now?
Not very long, but I love this segment. I'm so glad we do it, because there are so many hidden gems that don't get nearly enough attention, and I love being able to, put a little spotlight on these.
Oh, I know, and we found it's quite often the mini movie, the short film, that often seems to get the most interaction sometimes with people. People are really loving this segment. So I say thank you to everybody who's given feedback and all the rest of it. Mini movie review time. And what have we got on offer this week, Velvet?
Okay, so this is actually kind of funny. I didn't realize this until recently. So last week we did a short film called The German, but tonight our short film is from Germany. It's a German short film, so that was unintentional. It just happened that way.
Well, the German was actually Irish, so that's,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But our mini movie tonight is actually a German short film. It is directed by Ludo Vici, who we actually follow on Twitter. He's our Twitter friend, so we'll be tweeting him during the week to let him know we've reviewed his short film. The short film is in German. It is available subtitled in English. It is called No Goodbye, and it only runs about actually just under 14 minutes. About a minute and a half of that is credits. And well, what can I say about it? Basically, it's a stage performer, female stage performer. She's hanging out in her dressing room, and she has a strange visitor. And then they get into an even stranger conversation, and you're not really quite sure what's going to happen until the end hits. And then you're kind of like, oh, I kind of thought that's where I was going, but I wasn't sure. But now I know. And now how do I feel about that? So very beautifully shot. The cinematography in this it's just everything's kept really close on the actors to create that sense of intimacy. So you're really drawn into what they're talking about, and you feel literally close to them as well as emotionally close to them. And you want to know what's going to happen to these characters. So what do you think about this mini movie, Warren?
I have to admit, when it started, once again, like I often say this, I didn't know where it was going. And
right.
And as the movie was going on, I still didn't really know where it was going. But then as the conversation between the, she's not an actress. She's
I called her a stage performer. I called her a stage performer. Like maybe burlesque.
Burlesque performer, something along those lines. Or, I mean, I don't know, or maybe, it sort of struck me that she was an ex-ballerina or something along those lines. Maybe it's dancer. And this conversation she's having with this gentleman, and I wasn't sort of too sure. And then I started to realize, this gentleman's not who I think he is. This gentleman he's a representation. And then the movie started to actually make more sense, once I realized that. And it was very, very interesting. As you said, it's well written, well acted, well shot. It's a story for many of us. I think many of us have had late at night. I mean, this idea of the lament. I think that's the right word.
Yes.
And who am I? Where have I been? Where am I going? What have I achieved? What was my? It's like that classic scene from Saving Private Ryan, where Ryan, as an old man, says to his wife, "Tell me I led a good life." It's very interesting, and the ending, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't quite expecting that. I got the idea that it was going down that path. I mean, once you're about halfway through the movie, you get the idea that it's going down this path, but that came out of left field. I have to say. But I liked it. I thought the ending was short, sharp, and sweet, and I thought it summed it up really well. So great little film.
Yeah, you really took the words out of my mouth. I couldn't explain it better myself without giving this away. This short film was only released to Vimeo last month, so you can go to Vimeo.com and type in "No Goodbye." There is an unsubtitled version available in German, as well as a subtitled version in German with English subtitles. And this film has won a lot of awards, like just all over the place. And just, it's not going to be for everybody. I think some people are going to watch it and just not like it at all. But for those of you that kind of contemplate things, if you're kind of philosophical, if you find yourselves, caught in thought a lot, you might like this movie because it does ask a lot of those questions and there's a lot of reminiscing, that kind of thing. But check it out. You can follow Ludo Vici on Twitter at Ludo_Vici. So that's LUDO_VICI. And you'll be able to, he also posts info about his No Goodbye short film there. You can also go to Vimeo and just type in "No Goodbye" subtitled to find the film and check it out.
Yeah, I've only got one complaint about this movie, to be honest, and it's actually a post-production complaint. It's not actually about the movie itself. The movie itself, I can't fault. Actually, I think it's really good. I really, and I think anyone who likes independent cinema, short films, is actually really going to like this. I really think they're really going to like it. I don't think anyone's going to dislike it. My main complaint is that for many of us, unlike yourself, Velvet, who don't speak fluent German, the subtitles are too small.
Oh, are they? Okay, that's good to know. Because I have to admit, I didn't read the subtitles on this. I just listened to the spoken.
I know. So for a person like me, I obviously had to read the subtitles. Now, I started actually watching this on my tablet, as I often watch a lot of short films just on my iPad, and I had to stop and I had to stream it on my Apple TV to my big screen TV because I couldn't read the subtitles; they were just too small. Now
that's good to know.
Now once it went up on the big TV screen, like 50-inch television, it's fine. It's okay. Honestly, it's fine. But if you're watching it on a tablet or on a little notebook or something like that. And I know a lot of these short films, people often watch these because they're watching them online. They're on their notebook or a tablet or something. Yeah. So but that's a post-production thing, that's my only complaint. Otherwise, I adored this film. Actually, I absolutely adored it. I really liked it because I think one of the things is, apart from where it goes, but the concept of what they're talking about, we have all had nights or days like this. And that's what I loved about it so much.
Yes.
Totally loved it.
Absolutely. All right. No Goodbye by Ludovici. Go check it out.
Cool. So, I think it's about time that we get stuck into main feature. So, I'm talking over the filler again. I'm talking. Oh, God. Here we go. Why don't we just talk over the? Well, no, we don't. Anyway, but we'll shut up. We'll shut up. Let the filler play, and we'll be right back. So, our first movie, I can't believe we're kicking off with this movie. I really can't. But anyway, our first movie is a Sci-Fi Channel original. So I think you know where this is going to go. Offering from 2006 called Kraken-Tentacles of the Deep. Kraken-Tentacles of the Deep. Yes, it is a sci-fi original movie about a giant squid and a group of treasure hunters working for a university who are trying to find some ancient relics off the coast of Canada. Yes, ancient relics off the coast of Canada. I know that doesn't sound feasible, but as the story goes on, it will make a little bit more sense. And then they get interrupted by a group of criminals who believe that they own these relics and are trying to steal the relics back from our university-based treasure hunters. And in the meantime, they are all trying to be killed by a giant squid while they're actually trying to get the relics, because this giant squid, for some unknown reason, is defending the relics. Would that be a fair sort of synopsis of this movie?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good synopsis. I was actually excited to watch this because I absolutely love octopuses and I love squids. Those are like my favorite sea creatures. So anytime there's a movie about giant ones killing people, I'm like, yeah, I definitely want to see that. But I don't know. I honestly, I started liking this movie, then halfway through I started getting bored. But then the ending picked up again, so I don't know. It met my expectations, I guess I should say. They didn't waste any time showing the squid, which was pretty cool.
Pretty quick. The squid enters, yeah.
Yeah. And actually, I did like the CGI in this movie. I didn't think the CGI in this movie was that bad, actually. The way that, first off, the way it looked, because obviously it's not going to look real, but decent for their budget. But also, they did a good job of, the interactables, having the people actually interact with the squid that they can't see but is in the movie, and having it interact with, knocking stuff over. And I actually thought that was pretty decently done for this movie.
Well, I think one of the things is that sci-fi, of course, as in the Sci-Fi Channel, is well known that creature features are all CGI. Or the creatures are just 100% CGI. But the thing about this one, and it may have something to do with when it was made, 2016, so it's 10 years old.
2006. Okay.
Yes. Oh, what did I say? 2016. Sorry. Yes, 2006. Is that there is still some puppetry used in this, as in for the tentacles. When we actually see some of the fighting, some of the ends, just the tips of the tentacles, are actually they're just basically, pretend ones on the end of sticks, but they're, but the thing is they have added a little bit of that in. Now, you won't get that in a modern sci-fi movie. It's just all CGI these days. So that was sort of kind of nice that they did that. But there are so many flaws to this whole story, I have to admit. But the thing is, unlike you, Velvet, I did actually find that this movie did keep me engaged all the time. I never actually got bored with it. But then again, one of the reasons our two main stars of this movie are Charlie O'Connell, who Well, Charlie O'Connell's in just about every B-grade movie that's made at the moment. Of course, brother, of course, of the rather more famous Jerry O'Connell.
Right.
But of course, it also stars one of the most heavenly created goddesses to ever emerge from Canada, Victoria Pratt. And of course, Victoria Pratt spends most of this movie just in a bikini.
Yep.
So that honestly kept me pretty much glued to the screen, for quite a lot of this movie. And it's quite funny too that, she's walking around in a bikini where everybody else, you can see this is filmed off the coast of Canada, right? So everybody else is rugged up in sweaters and, and jackets and, scarves. And she's just wandering around in a bikini like you would.
Yeah.
She must have freezed her ass off making this movie is all I can say. But there's a couple of major faults. Like, for instance, squids swim tentacle first, right? They're not like an octopus that swims head first. They swim the other way around. The tail of a squid is actually its head. Its head is actually the tail, right? So, but in this movie, they swim head first.
Oh,
now, I don't know whether that was just the guys who did the CGI didn't know anything about biology.
They didn't.
I really don't know. And the other thing too is that the relics that they're trying to find are meant to be left over from the Trojan War.
Oh, here we go.
I hate to tell people this, right? The Trojan War is mythical. It was a book written by a guy called Homer. It's a Greek tragedy. It's not a real event.
Oh, goodness. Oh, no. Well, also, my thing was the squid was making noise, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that squid does not have vocal cords to be, like, squealing and squeaking and making little weird noises.
I don't know.
Like,
it's but I must admit, especially under the water, the squid did actually look pretty good. The CGI was pretty good. And even when we have a great battle on the boat where the squid physically climbs onto the boat, like head and all, it doesn't look too bad, actually. I must admit, it's better than some of the creatures created by sci-fi. I must admit. But the other thing too is that, which is so wrong about this movie, is it's called Kraken-Tentacles of the Deep. Once again, Kraken, mythical creature.
Yes,
this is about a giant squid. And
exactly.
A Kraken is, just for anyone who wants to learn a little bit about Scandinavian folklore, a Kraken goes back to the Viking times. It's a mythical creature that Vikings supposedly came across. There were two of them that lived in the North Atlantic between Norway and Greenland. And they are a mythical creature. There were only ever meant to be two of them. And every now and again, people would, make contact with them. They were huge. They were a couple of kilometers big. Like, they were huge, but they looked more like a giant crab. They weren't like a squid.
Hence the word Kraken.
Crab. Yes.
Exactly.
And which actually comes from the German, actually, not from the Scandinavian. So that's why you got it so quick. But but the other interesting thing too is that the idea of a Kraken looking like a squid didn't actually come around until about the 1800s. It's actually a modern concept. So it's just that for me, I don't know, you're linking the Siege of Troy, which is a made-up story, and then you turn in what was a Scandinavian mythical crab of 16 kilometers in size, and you're turning that into a real creature, which is a giant squid, because giant squids really exist. We see them, we film them, they're on the National Geographic Channel, So. Anyway, I'm ranting, but that was a problem.
There was a lot of things wrong with this movie. I don't know. It was fun to watch, though. It was kind of those, if this is one of those movies you can watch if you're getting plastered. This is not a movie, that you have to be stone cold sober because you're going to miss plot points and metaphors and hidden meanings. No, you can fucking sit down with the drink or 3 or 5 and get plastered and watch this and just laugh and just enjoy the CGI. There is a little bit of eye candy. The girls, the female archaeologists are quite good looking. It cracked me up when they introduced the bad guys because, bad guys wear black.
I know, they're all in black.
I was like, I wonder if those are bad people. Yeah, definitely.
And I was just going to say very quickly, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but just very quickly, because I know I'll forget otherwise, you know what my memory's like, is that the criminals are meant to be a Greek crime family, right? They're meant to be a Greek crime family, but they all speak with American accents.
Yep.
And they're meant to be Greek.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry, Velvet. Please.
No, you didn't cut me off at all. There was just it's a fun movie to make fun of, to be honest. Just so many silly things. Sexy doctors, that's always funny because I've not seen very many sexy doctors that fucking sexy. And I don't know. I had this weird obsession with what's his name, with Charlie O'Connell's mouth. He just looked like a Muppet to me. It's just like he has almost no lips, but a really big mouth. It's really strange. It was like almost just like a solid line across. I'm like, somebody get this guy some lip injections. But the acting in this movie was actually decent, is the funny thing. I mean, the movie, for what it is, the acting's actually quite good, quite believable. Even the scenes where they're having to interact with the CGI are like quite believable. They're really screaming their heads off, acting like they're getting pulled and attacked, and they're getting ready to die at the tentacles of a Kraken, as they call it in this movie. And actually, did they ever even actually call it a Kraken in this movie? Or
No, they don't.
Squid?
No,
Yeah,
they refer to it as giant. There is no mention of the word Kraken in this movie whatsoever, only in the title. And I want to get to that because this is a really interesting point about how the movie got its name. But we'll get to that in a second. Finish what you're saying, Velvet.
Okay, and this movie had just like the stereotypical tropes. It's the archaeologist, and I knew this line had to be in the movie somewhere, and she said it. She goes, "That artifact belongs in a museum."
Yes, I know. Yes,
so
there it is.
If this had been a drinking game, I would have scored a shot on that one. I did actually like that there was a lot of underwater filmings. I mean, like, they really tried to give you that sense of, yikes, you're in deep, dark, cold water and there's a monster down there. But at the same time, I couldn't tell what the fuck was going on sometimes because, like, there were people fighting underwater, and it got to the point where I didn't know who was who. I was like, yes, I don't know who's fighting. I don't know who's who right now. Like, I don't know. I won't know till they surface. Like, I couldn't keep track.
Well, there were lots of editing issues with this. I mean, I know that, like, for instance, the Victoria Pratt character Nicole is trapped inside the hull of this sunken ship when they're trying to get the relic out. And her offsider, Ray, who's played by, Charlie O'Connell, is he sees her, like, he's above her, and he sees the distress. So he goes to swim down to rescue her. But the next shot, he swims up. Right, so there were little things like that where they sort of got it wrong. But I have to admit, the underwater stuff in this was shot. It's not stock footage. It actually was shot. So they did actually go and put divers in the water and actually do underwater photography. So they actually did do it themselves. So I've got to say hats off for doing that. They could have quite easily have cheated and just had stock footage of, people scuba diving. So I thought that was, sort of quite good. But, no, look, I mean, I enjoyed it. It's, like everything that's produced by Sci-Fi, it's never going to be good. But at the same time, it's just going to be fun. But I mean, it's one thing I've got to say. What did you think about this? The thing I couldn't believe about the Ray and the Nicole character is after they see, like, they're responsible. Well, not so much Ray. He's like, trying to kill the giant squid in revenge because his parents were killed by the giant squid. So he's like, call me Ishmael. Is that right? He's like, it's like Moby Dick. So he's trying to hunt the great whale, so he's sort of playing that character, but he teams up with them because obviously Nicole is after the treasure for the museum, of course, and Ray, of course, is trying to kill the squid. So they sort of team up together. But the interesting thing is that the Nicole character, she's responsible for the lives of these university students, and when they start to get killed one by one, you would think that she would have a certain duty of care. The first thing I wouldn't think you would do after seeing your students killed is go and make out with Jerry O'Connell. Do you know what I mean? I would have thought you would be shocked. It's like, what am I going to tell the school? What am I going to tell their parents? They've been killed by this giant squid. No, what does she do? Oh, let's have sex. You know
what? You know why? Because of adrenaline. You know, when your life's on the line and you see people die and you got that fight or flight response going, that's what you do. You go have sex with the nearest living human.
So I did think that was funny, but here you go, Velvet. In regards to naming the movie, you know, the Kraken. What was it called? The Kraken. Now, sometimes this movie is actually referred to as a different name. And that is, of course, I wrote a list down now.
Deadly Water? Is it Deadly Water?
Yes, that's right. And that's actually the name that the film was, pardon me. That's actually the working title the film actually had. And they finally then settled on Kraken-Tentacles of the Deep. But it wasn't all the titles that they actually ran through. Now, some of them that they rejected were absolutely fantastic. And I'd love to know what you think about these. Are you ready for this? Stop. Okay, are you ready for this? Stop or my squid will shoot.
Are you serious?
I'm deadly serious. This is deadly serious.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Okay. Are you ready for another title that they almost went with?
Okay.
Tentacles 8, Humans 2.
Oh my God! Wow.
The other option: the squid stays in the picture. I thought that was quite clever. Actually. You ready for this? And here we go. 2 guys, a girl, and a giant squid.
Oh my God!
But
you know what? These names are better than the movie. I have to admit.
But my absolute favourite, which I almost wish they had have gone for, was a great play on words, Killamari.
Oh.
Now, is that cool or what?
Wow, that I was thinking that I guess they didn't stick with Deadly Water because the name wasn't campy enough. And I was like, Kraken-Tentacles of the Deep, it makes it sound like a B movie. But damn, if they really wanted to ham it up, they could have definitely went with one of those alternative names you just listed off.
Well, there's no reason why it wouldn't work. I mean, you look at what sci-fi's doing now. I mean, we've got the Sharknado franchise. We've got like Lavalantula. We've got all sorts of these, great names that they're coming up with. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. The other thing too is that, if we've been talking about obviously Charlie O'Connell and Victoria Pratt, who are the main stars. Now, if you don't actually know who they are, is that Charlie O'Connell, apart from being in tons of movies, he was also in a very famous TV show with his brother, Jerry O'Connell, called Sliders.
Yes, I love that show.
So if you don't know who he is, that'll give you a bit of a hand. Also, Victoria Pratt, you will remember her if you like, especially a lot of that American sort of action TV that was filmed in New Zealand. For instance, such as Xena. She was in Xena. Xena, that's it, with Lucy Lawless.
Yeah.
Xena. And also Cleopatra 2525. She was one of the stars of that. So you'll remember her from those. So if you don't know who she is, she's the blonde from those TV shows that were all shot in New Zealand. And she's a kick-ass sort of martial art fitness person as well. So she's one of those people who does her own stunts. So she's pretty impressive actually. Any sort of final words do you think for
this is definitely one of those, like I said, this is a movie that if you're just in the mood for something light but kind of interesting, there's not a lot of comic relief in this. I mean, I didn't really catch anything where I was like, oh, that's funny.
None.
There's not really a lot of comic relief in this, but it's still at the same time, you're just kind of looking for something that doesn't require a lot of thinking power or analytical skills, you just kind of want to sit back. If you like movies about giant sea creatures, if you like octopuses, if you like squids like I do, then this is, worth just throwing on a lazy Sunday or a lazy Saturday and just, having a drink,
Oh, yeah.
So.
I mean, I would say to anybody, if you're a fan of the Sci-Fi Channel, not just because you watch, Doctor Who or something like that on the Sci-Fi Channel, but because you're actually a fan of the homegrown, the actual sci-fi productions themselves, not just the other shows that they put onto that channel, then I think you'll like this because you'll know what to expect. If you know the sorts of movies that Sci-Fi put out. And if you enjoy them and you haven't seen this, then give this one a go because you will like it. I think it's actually one of the better offerings that Sci-Fi has actually produced, to be truthful. So it's a bit like, we talked about Sharktopus.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's in that sort of, vein of movie. Yeah. No, look, I liked it. So look, it's down to the Erics. It's the Eric Roberts moment. I dread to think what you're going to do, Velvet.
It's watchable. It's watchable. It's not that bad, but it's not. Yeah, for me, it's not something I'd highly recommend. So I'm just going to say, out of a possible 5 Eric Roberts, I'm going to give this 2.5 Erics out of a possible 5 Eric Roberts.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to give it 4. I'm going to give it 4 because it's, it's not the world's greatest film, but it's pretty stock standard to what you'd expect from Sci-Fi. It's got Victoria Pratt in a bikini for about 50% of the movie, and that's worth a viewing alone. And the squid is actually done really well, and truthfully, it actually held my viewing for the entire hour and a half. It's pretty quick paced, so I'll give it 4.
Right on.
Cool. All right. So that was the first movie, of 2017. And we're going to take a quick break, and then we are going to be back with, oh my God, strap yourself in for this one. For movie number 2. We'll be right back. Now, we are back with movie number 2 for podcast 27. And I don't know how I'm going to describe this movie, so I'm not. I'm going to let Velvet do it.
Okay, and I'm just going to cheat directly off of the IMDb page because I think they sum it up quite nicely. So this is Tetsuo-The Iron Man. This is a Japanese film from 1989. This is a cyberpunk body horror film. It only runs a little bit over an hour, and woo, is in the salt on the senses. So let me give you a really super sweet, super short synopsis. Again, I'm ripping this right off of IMDb.com. It says, a businessman accidentally kills the metal fetishist who gets his revenge by slowly turning the man into a grotesque hybrid of flesh and rusty metal. So that's a really good summary of this movie. And I'm sure you were shocked when you watched this, Warren. I have to admit, when I picked this movie, I was like, you know what? I'm going to make Warren watch this movie because this is going to be my revenge for when he had me watch The Weather Woman the first time. Well,
I don't know if you recall. I sent you if you remember, Velvet. I said to you, right, I'm back from the beach today because it's been hot where I live. Okay, fuck me, it's been hot. And anyway, so I came back from the beach and I said, all right, okay, gonna watch this movie now. And I remember your reply to me was, good luck, Warren. And I think was what you actually said. And then I think I got back to you a bit later and I said, I'm halfway through this movie and I have no fucking idea what is going on.
That sounds like me when I watched The Weather Woman.
Yes. Look, it's the thing I've got to say about this, you got to watch the whole movie for it to make any sense.
Yes.
Yes. Because there's actually not a huge amount of dialogue in this movie. And so the thing is that it's not really until about halfway through the film when some of the characters start to talk to each other that you realize, oh, that's what's going on.
Right.
And you start to see flashbacks and you go, oh, that's why this is happening.
Right.
But I've got to admit, the first 30 minutes, you are just sitting there with your mouth open going, what the fuck is this? And but then it actually starts to make sense. Because I mean, some of the things we start off with, Velvet. I mean, we've got this man inserting pieces of metal inside his body, and it's pretty. It's quite.
It's so gross. That's
right.
So gross.
It's starting to insert pieces of metal into his body, and then suddenly we cross to this young couple who are going through real life and dream states simultaneously, and you never quite know what's real, what's dream. And it starts to get really hard to follow until our original character, the guy who is inserting pieces of metal into himself, comes back. And then we realize that, oh, okay, I see what has happened here, that this couple has hurt this guy who was trying to create himself into some weird half metal, half human creature. And now he's somehow or other using some sort of supernatural powers created by the rust in the metal bonding with his blood. I don't quite know how this works. That gives him some sort of superhuman powers to be able to turn our other guy into a half human, half metal creature. It's holy fuck.
Well, you understood this movie way better than I did the first time I watched it. So the way I even came across this movie was quite a few years ago. I actually watched it when it was still available on Netflix. You can still watch it through Netflix if you do their DVD plan, but it's no longer available on the United States Netflix streaming service, but it used to be. And the reason I even watched this movie back then was my significant other back then was deaf, and Netflix was in a stage where they did not subtitle their movies. The only movies that had subtitles were foreign films. And so anytime we wanted to watch a movie together, we would go to Netflix and find something in the foreign film section. And I think that day we said we wanted to watch a horror film.
Right.
And this is what we ended up picking. And I have to tell you, he was actually very upset with me within the first couple minutes of this movie. He was just like, this is disgusting. And I'm a fan of any movie that elicits a response from somebody. And the fact that this movie could elicit that kind of response from somebody that couldn't even hear the soundtrack to this movie, because the soundtrack to this movie is off the fucking wall, too.
Oh, yeah.
It's very driven. It's very music driven. In fact, the soundtrack's actually quite fantastic. It's very, it's kind of like heavy metal. I would call it almost like the granddaddy of of industrial metal, granddaddy of industrial metal. So, like, if you like bands like Marilyn Manson, White Zombie, Ministry from the 90s, the bands that would play heavy metal, but they would also use like sound loops from popular movies and stuff. This is like that kind of music without the sampling from movies. So it's very, rhythmic. It's very full sounding. It's very pounding and driving. This movie is shot in black and white. It has to be shot in black and white. I'm so glad it's shot in black and white.
Oh, my God,
if this movie were in color, it would be, first off, you just wouldn't be able to take this movie seriously at all. It would just be too crazy. And also, because it is so crazy, I think my senses would just be fucking overloaded. It's just, this movie is kind of nonstop. The imagery in this is really insane. Some backstory on the story might help you out with this movie a little. So the director is Shinya Tsukamoto. So Shinya Tsukamoto, before he made this movie, right before he started making this movie, his father kicked him out of the house, kind of disowned him, was just kind of like, oh, you want to make fucking movies instead of getting a real job? You're on your own. And so this movie is a fuck you to his father.
Okay.
And as you can see, because actually the main character that's, having revenge enacted upon him, this is a salary man. He's a businessman. You can tell.
Yes.
You can tell he's a suit and tie, glasses kind of guy. And he's the one that's having this revenge enacted upon him. And he's also becoming part of the machine, which you can take that lots of ways. You're becoming part of the machine that society wants you to be, another cog in the wheel, which is eventually what he eventually kind of becomes. He becomes just this conglomerate piece of metal that's used as a small part of a big function. I mean, there's a lot of social commentary in this film, but if you don't know any of this stuff and you go in watching this movie, it's just a humongous audiovisual clusterfuck. It's just like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? To make the actual metal man, so if you haven't seen this movie and you hear us saying Iron Man, you're thinking probably of just a robot. No, this is scrap metal. This is go to a fucking junkyard, get the Acme style Looney Tunes fucking magnet and hold it in the junkyard and see what sticks to the magnet. I mean, it's just a fucking mess. So what they would do is they actually created a bodysuit, and they would literally, any kind of fucking scrap metal they would find, they would glue it to the suit. So, I mean, it's a fucking mess. It's just and the use of stop motion in this is very interesting because...
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of stop motion. So instead of it being traditional stop motion where you really try to make it as seamless and as clean as possible, this stop motion uses a lot of jump cuts to add to that frenetic energy of the movie. So, I mean, this is really, kind of like an art house film. So, I mean, if you like David Lynch, if you like body horror from David Cronenberg, so if those two had a bastard child, this would be the result.
There were lots of things. I mean, I agree. The stop motion was it was well done. And I did like the way, that they would skip frames.
Yes.
Oh, pardon me. I'll just have a quick drink. Pardon me.
No problem. This movie. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, this cough is still hanging around with me, unfortunately. I did like the way. So the way that they moved was because they don't walk. The way with the stop motion, basically. So one frame, miss 5, one frame, miss 5. It was an amazing way to actually see them travel around the streets. And the other thing too is it was interesting you mentioned Marilyn Manson, because I was actually watching this and I was actually sort of thinking this is almost like watching a Marilyn, because of the music as well. It was like watching a Marilyn Manson music video that ran for an hour and 7 minutes. It was
totally.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And the other thing too is that it's, oh my God, it is so art house. I mean, this also reminded me so much of a lot of cinema, that art house cinema that was coming out of places like France and Germany in the early 30s. That really experimental, almost make people throw up in the cinema type stuff. The French especially, were playing with in the 1930s. So it's good, but oh my God, is it out there? And it also it's pretty. It's not violent, but it's in the sense of what some of them do to themselves. Like the self-mutilation almost. Sometimes it can be a little bit hard to watch.
It's really visceral. It's really cringeworthy. Oh, totally.
Yeah. But the other thing too is that when we have the bonding of the two, like the original Iron Man and is the new Iron Man, they sort of become into this bonded, I'll say it, sort of almost
Go ahead.
They almost become a brand new species. They create a brand new species, and but they join together in this species. And what I suppose that's interesting, especially when you're talking about his father and the idea of the salary man, which is interesting because like I'm a salary man, so it's kind of interesting to see. And then the idea of you've got like the rebel and the salary man, and they bond together to create a new creature. And now, and I also think in the 1980s, that's a really interesting point, because if you think about where the world was in the late 80s, there was that real divide of us and them, between business and the rebellious state. You know, it was it was very poignant, especially too, you know, you're talking about the height of the Cold War, where you had, you know, people who lived in, you would almost say, the majority, the salary earners, the middle class families who just went about life the way they did, and they became, as so many of us did in the 80s, obsessed with money, wealth, status. Like for, the 1980s was that explosion of the brand name clothing, you know, where you had to wear brand. Like, for the first time ever, we started wearing brands on the outside of our clothes rather than on the inside of the clothes. Yes. So everybody knew that was by Calvin Klein, that was by Ralph Lauren. And, you know, to make a statement that I'm amazing, aren't I? Because I'm dressed by Ralph Lauren. And the idea, but at the same time, you still had this real rebellious element in the 80s who wanted to stop the Cold War. They didn't want to see families go up in a mushroom cloud. This idea of the Soviet Union and the United States holding the entire planet hostage for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And so there was this huge rebellion. The demonstrations I remember that used to go on in the 80s were huge, absolutely huge. And so it's interesting that we've got these, I hope I'm not rambling, but we've got these two characters, one that represents that side, one side of the 80s, the other one that represents the other side, but then they come together and bond to create a brand new person. Yes. And what I loved, and I don't know if you saw this, and maybe this is just me reading too much into it, is that when they bond, they become the Statue of Liberty.
Interesting that you say that, because a lot of people have mentioned that here we go, that bonding actually looks like a penis.
Oh, that's okay. Well, all right.
It's open to interpretation. Because there's a lot of phallic imagery in this movie, and
oh my god, yes.
Oh yeah, it's blatantly.
Oh my
phallic.
god, the automatic giant metallic penis.
This guy's penis turns into a giant spinning pointed drill. And okay, let's talk about the sex in this movie, because you wouldn't think in an hour-long movie that they would have time for sex scenes, and there's actually a lot of sex in this movie. And the fucked up thing is, but I'm a weirdo, so, you know, keep that in mind, people. I actually find the sex scenes in this movie kind of hot.
Okay, this is where
because I'm like, at the beginning of the movie, I'm like, oh, they're having sex in the forest up against a tree. That's hot. And then later in the movie, I'm like, oh, it's hot, and they're having sex in front of a fan, and they're doing lots of different positions. And then I'm like, oh, and they're eating erotically, and and then they're fucking, or then they're fighting, and then they're fucking. And I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of hot, you know?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I didn't get any of that. I don't even know why it was really. I mean, I suppose to me it was trying to make the statement that this guy and girl were this sort of normal couple doing what normal couples do, which is, you know, they're in love, they have sex, they do, you know, that's what normal people do.
I found the female hyper sex. I found she was insatiable, because even when he's this fucking monster with a giant spinning drill pointed dick, she still wanted to have sex with him. So I'm like, this girl is insatiable.
Yeah,
they've committed a crime, and she still wants to have sex.
Yeah, I think that's very 80s though, in some way. Okay. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But I suppose as someone who has lived, I'm old enough to remember the 80s. I wasn't, you know, sort of like born at the start of the 80s or in the middle of the 80s, you know. So, you know, I actually was a teenager, you know, and then I was a young adult at the end of the 80s. So I actually remember them, you know, and I remember what actually happened. And so I think for me, I see this movie maybe differently to you, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, so maybe that has a lot to do with it. I don't know. I don't know. But then again, I think this story in a way is timeless though. You know, it may be influenced very heavily by 80s culture, but I think the story is still timeless. It works today actually.
Because, and also, again, with the background, like, even if you don't know the background of the story, but in this case, this film was, fuck you to his father, kind of like, I'm angry and I'm going to make this film, I'm going to show you. But then again, like I said, also look at the character in the movie. He's being taken out of society and forced into something else to, further a different cause. So, it is a timeless story. There's always the rebellion.
That's exactly right. It doesn't matter. I mean, in a sense, it doesn't really matter what the rebellion is. In other words, what the mainstream is. Because the mainstream today is different to what it was in the 80s. It's not the same. The obsession with wealth and money and branding and so forth, it's still there, but it's changed. The obsession now is more with fame rather than with, I think, than with wealth. I think in many ways people today, especially a lot of young people, they'll choose fame over wealth. Where in the 80s it was wealth over everything. But you still got that rebellion. I mean, we see that, today in our politics. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, totally. There's some more fun facts about this film. So the director, Shinya Tsukamoto, he's actually the metal fetishist. So he's the guy in the beginning of the movie that you see doing all that gross shit to his leg. And then later in the movie, when he returns to exact his revenge as Tetsuo-The Iron Man, which, by the way, Tetsuo is actually Japanese for Iron Man. So anyways, so when he comes back, that's actually the director. So he also not only wrote and directed, but he was also acting in the movie. That was him. Okay. Yeah, and it turns out that I believe I read that it took them over 18 months to shoot this movie. And by the time they finished this movie, pretty much every single person working on the film had quit because the working conditions were so difficult. So the only ones that stuck around were pretty much the actors.
Right.
And it got to the point where even the salary man, sometimes he had to do like lighting or hold the camera for certain scenes because, the cameraman that day had already quit.
Oh, my God.
And even the female in this movie, her name is Kei Fujiwara. She sometimes did camera work for scenes in the movie as well. The woman that plays the girlfriend in this movie. So, and this is not a well-known fact, but this is what happened to me when I was rewatching this movie. Up here in the mountains of Montana, there are some cows around. There's some people that own cows. Yeah. And whenever I fired up this movie, they kept mooing their ass off the entire time I was watching this movie. It was the weirdest thing. This movie just like deeply disturbed the nature in this area.
That is interesting.
I was like, there's evidently some sound effect or something in this movie that was driving them crazy. Because every once in a while, a cow will move for a couple seconds and that's it. But there was literally like 2 or 3 at the same time that for like 5 minutes nonstop were mooing their ass off when I started watching this movie. So there's something. So be careful if you're watching this movie around farm animals.
Farm animals. Maybe there's some. Maybe this is like watching the Ring. It's like you've got seven days before you die. Maybe it's so it affects animals in strange ways or something. But I have to say that I recommend this movie, but I've got to say, one, you need a bit of a strong stomach, and two, if you're not the sort of, what I was almost going to say, and I don't want people to take this the wrong way, this really is the sort of film that would really attract the sort of guy who wears a beret, has a beard, and likes to wear turtleneck pullovers, and his girlfriend who dyes her hair bright red and also wears turtleneck pullovers. I think I think you know what I'm trying to say.
Definitely. This is definitely a film that if you are not interested in seeing something that you have to pay attention and form your own opinion, it's definitely, there's definitely some art house here. There's definitely a little bit of, if you're looking just for a regular plot-driven, dialogue-driven film, you're not going to like this. But if you're the kind you like to watch a movie and sit back and just enjoy the visual part of it, and there's an audio added bonus, you definitely want to check this out. Oh, this is. Did you find any scenes in the movie comical? I have to ask that.
No.
Okay.
Not a single one.
I know there was a couple of scenes that I think I was probably laughing at the penis drill dick because I was like, oh, wow. Because I was like, well, at least they gave him a big one. But I agree. I don't think this movie's funny either. But I've heard some people actually interpret this movie as a black comedy. But I'm like, I don't see it. I don't see it, but there's some people that interpret this film as an extremely dark, like, black comedy that you have to peel away the layers to really see it. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't see it.
Although I think it could be a little bit like, do you remember the podcast we did, Velvet, when we had Andrew on? And we were talking about some Japanese movies. What was it? The Ets from Outer Space. And what was it? Terror from Beneath the Sea. And
your favorite, Attack of the Eye Creatures.
Attack of the Eye Creatures, yes. But if you remember, talking about Japanese cinema, he made, I think, what was a really interesting point. And he said that when you have, let's say, a movie, let's say let's say you're Italian and you're watching a Dutch film. There's still a huge similarity in culture. You know, the language may be different, but the culture is still pretty much the same, you know?
Right.
Well, it's not the same, but you know what I mean. It's a very similar culture.
Yes.
The thing is that when you take someone, let's say, who is born and raised in Canada, and then they watch a Japanese movie, the culture is vastly different.
Right.
You know, there's no, you know, it's so different. And so quite often a lot of humor gets lost in translation.
Yeah, that could be it. Exactly.
Yeah, like it's there, but we don't pick it up because of the cultural differences. And maybe that's what it is, you know? Maybe that's what it is.
That's a great point. I really like the way the actors committed to this film because it's not a dialogue heavy film at all. There's there's not even 5 minutes of dialogue.
No.
And when there is dialogue, it's very simplistic. It's either literally just hello or come on, or it's just like it'll have like one or two poignant sentences. And I mean, this is not a dialogue heavy film. And I really like the way the actors in this movie committed to portraying what was going on through their body movements, through their expressions in their face, like, you know, a lot of like terror or anger or pain or just like confusion. And I was just like, wow, this, you know, because this is a body horror film. This is all about expressing what's going on with your face and with your body to get the story told. And it just, I thought the actors did a really great job in this. This definitely has that cultural aspect of the revenge spirit or the revenge ghost, which is really common in Japanese cinema. Even recently, what was that film? You've asked me about it before. Unfriended. Remember?
Oh,
that's
yes.
A movie,
Yeah.
That's a movie about a revenge ghost. So that's still a really common theme in Japanese cinema. And so this touches on that because you were saying this guy has magic powers, and I'm kind of like, well, I guess he's not totally dead. Or then I was like, no, wait, hold on. He probably is dead, but he's a revenge spirit. And that's really a common theme in Japanese films that, you know, they'll just come back for revenge and either curse you, kind of like The Grudge or The Ring, that kind of stuff.
Well, this is the thing. It's not just Japan, too. I mean, in so many different Asian cultures, you know, whether it be throughout, you know, China and many of the other, you know, Asian countries, Vietnam, you know, Malaysia, Thailand and Indonesia, the idea that ghosts or spirits live amongst us it's not just a horror concept. It's an everyday belief. You know, it's like the thing is, it's a bit like you know, the movie The Exodus. No, not The Exodus, The Exorcist. I should say. Exodus, the birth of Israel. No, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. No, The Exorcist is why a lot of people say it's so freaky is that it's set within the church.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing. It's like when you take religion and you add horror inside religion, something which is a staple for so many people, it makes it so incredibly horrifying. And I think within a lot of Asian cinema, and I know I'm obviously not Asian, so I'm speaking on behalf of other people, so I I'm not getting this wrong. But the idea that when you're talking about ghosts and ghosts within society, you are in a sense talking about religion itself. And so it makes it much scarier. Which is maybe something that, once again, lost in translation. We don't, sort of maybe get. Also for me, I mean, like, for instance, The Exorcist, I don't find it scary at all because I don't have that religious, connection. I mean, like, I'm an atheist, so it doesn't, so for me, I mean, I don't believe in Jesus or any of this stuff, so for me.
So it's very cultural, right?
Yeah. So like, I've got friends who are devoutly, Christian, and they say The Exorcist is one of the scariest movies they've ever seen. And then I've got other friends who are atheists who say, no, it's just another horror movie. We don't get what the big deal is about.
Interesting. Okay,
so I don't know. That's just a thought anyway about that sort of idea of revenge spirit. And gee, I've been ranting a lot on this this podcast.
This is definitely a thought-provoking film, though. So, the first time I saw it, I didn't like this movie, but I didn't dislike it. I just didn't know what to think about it. So I was like, oh, I need to watch this again someday. And then, I watched it again, and I'm like, I really like this movie. I really like this movie, but it's anytime you want to show it to somebody, you have to give them so much mental preparation. You're just kind of like, okay, this movie's really weird. There's not a lot of dialogue.
I think if I'm going to watch this movie again, Velvet, I definitely, before I press play, I'm going to put on a beret. I'm going to grow a beard. I'm going to put on some thick black rimmed glasses. I'm going to see if I can find one of my grandfather's old pipes and smoke that, and make sure I'm wearing a black turtleneck, and then I think I'll be set, because it is so art house. I don't honestly know if I really appreciate what this movie is trying to do and trying to say, but I don't think I could watch it again. I really don't, to be truthful.
Okay, that's interesting, because I couldn't watch this on a loop, but this is definitely something I'd like to watch now and again. I love the soundtrack on this movie, but I like that kind of music. This movie actually has some sequels, which is interesting. I actually haven't seen the sequels, but like most sequels, most people say, not as good as the first. Tetsuo 2 is called Body Hammered. So Tetsuo 2 came out in 1992. So the original here, Tetsuo-The Iron Man, came out in 1988, 1989. This is obviously an independent film. I mean, this was made on a shoestring budget. The crew's quitting all the time because they're working too hard and they're not really making much money, if anything. And so it really had that heart, that backbone of an independent film. But then, like with Tetsuo 2, that's when he gets his funding and he starts losing that edge, because now he has all this money. He's not dealing with all the struggles. He's not, this isn't like feast or famine. So, but I still want to check it out someday. And there's also a third sequel, which is Tetsuo the Bullet Man, and that came out in 2009.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah, so like 20 years later. So I haven't seen the sequels, because to be honest, it takes so much to watch the first movie.
I know.
I'm just like, I don't know if I can handle the sequels, even though I like the first one. It's a audio-visual assault on your senses.
Well, it's like the Spanish movies which were ripped off in America. What is it? REC? REC.
Yeah.
And like, for instance, those movies, I think there's about 4 of them. Like, for instance, their movies I really love and I really appreciate. But once I watch them, I can't go back and watch them again. There's something just a bit too. Ooh, I don't know. It's like, I'm glad, it's a bit like with this film, I'm glad I've seen it, but I just don't know if I could come back to it. I really don't.
Well, as I jokingly said, this is my revenge for Weather Woman, because that was the movie where I watched that once, and I was just like, what the fuck did I watch? And so I had to watch it again to be able to review it.
Although you did rate it as your favorite movie.
But no, I love it. But just the first time, I'm like, what the hell am I watching? And this movie's in that category for me, too. And it's funny that it's also a Japanese film, that the first time you're just like, what in the world? And then, like, in my case, I've watched it again, and I'm like, oh, now I really like this movie. And, just some movies are like that. You gotta see them more than once sometimes to figure out how you even feel about it. Did I like this movie? Do I hate this movie? I don't know how I feel. And it's like until I watch it again.
I'll tell you what, Velvet. What I may do in to revenge your revenge is I may put you in touch with some other Tia Mizutani movies, who of course was the star of Weather Woman. So I'll force you to watch something like The Terminatrix, or one of her other, or one of her other famous classics, Sumo Fighting Vixens.
Oh my God! You know what? I accept your challenge. Bring it on. Let's do it.
Oh my God! Did you imagine
the year of revenge?
Did you imagine if we actually do
revenge movie viewings?
If we actually do sumo wrestling vixens? Oh my God! I can't believe it. Anyway, oh my God. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well,
all right. So
we're going to rate this movie.
Yes. I'm getting so. I'm just picturing Tia Mizutani now sumo wrestling. It's just, oh my God. It's been a while since I've seen that. Anyway, now. Yes. How are we going to rate it? All right. So who's going first?
Okay, I'll go ahead and go first. This movie is definitely in the cult genre. So like I said, body horror. This is really original filmmaking, independent filmmaking that's reached cult status. This movie has been released in the United States on DVD, and it's currently out of print. So I mean, that's always a sign of a cult film right there.
Oh yes, I know.
A little hard to find, but the movie is always in Japanese with English subtitles when you see it. This is not dubbed in English, so that adds to the authenticity of the film. Just the fact that they're able to pull off such visceral imagery and energy with a black and white film, because it's a shame there's so many people that don't want to watch black and white films because they think they're boring. Give this one a shot. This is going to be unlike any black and white film you've ever seen.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And before people get turned off by black and white cinema, can you just remind everybody, Schindler's List was in fucking black and white?
Yes.
All right, so don't get turned off by black and white. Sometimes it works. It just works for what they're trying to do.
And this movie had to be in black and white. Like I said, if it was in color, it would just been too much. No.
Oh yeah.
No way.
It would have been.
Way.
I agree.
Okay, so I'm going to give this 5 Erics out of a possible 5 Eric Roberts for me.
5 out of 5. Wow.
Yeah, this is a 5 out of 5 for me, because this is a movie that you see it sticks with you. It's just yeah.
Okay. Well, I have to sort of do a bit of a Margaret Pomerantz moment here. Sorry. Okay, that's a joke some of our Australian listeners will get. No one else will. I have to disagree with you.
That's okay. That's why we're here.
Yeah, it's look. I mean, when I started watching this movie, I think I was at about the 15-minute mark, and I was basically like, this was a 0. This was a flat 0. I could not get. I was just like. But as the movie progressed, as it went on, as you get about halfway through, you start to understand what's actually going on. Then you start to understand the idea of the story, the fight between almost class structures within a society, but then the idea of them, of the two classes coming together to bond, to find and form a common, to create a common fight, a common victory, if you like. And so the message it was trying to send was actually, I think, really, really good. Even though, as you say, it just came out of as a fuck you to his father. But the actual overall message that it was sending, I think, was actually really good. So, so after watching all an hour and 7 minutes, as a piece of filmmaking, it's actually not bad. It's actually pretty good. So, 3.5.
Not bad.
I think not 3.5.
Yeah.
But I'm still not going to watch it again.
And so the revenge cycle starts.
Oh, yes, I know. If anyone out there in listener land has some thoughts about what should be the revenge movie that I put up against Velvet, please let me know, because I've got a feeling this will be an ongoing subject and topic, which is probably going to continue through 2017. Let's just see who can out-revenge each other before New Year. I'm actually really looking forward to that. Actually, I reckon that's going to be fun.
Yeah,
who can find the weirdest, crappiest, worst out there movie that there is? So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. Actually,
that's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Oh God.
Oh goodness.
All right. Well, we're well over 2 hours, I think so. So we should probably wrap it up. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. I had great fun. I know I got a little bit serious talking about some of those films.
This show was full of surprises, though. I loved doing our bottom three and our top three from last year. Yeah. That was full of surprises. That was a lot of fun. We even agreed on one of them.
I know. I was, and we,
bottom three, we agreed.
But we actually came pretty close with some others though, and so I thought that was pretty good. And remember, if we just sit here and just agree with each other, it's a pretty fucking boring show.
Oh God, that would be so boring.
That's exactly right.
Oh, I liked it too. Yeah,
I know. So that's pretty cool. So look, thanks everybody for listening. We will be back, of course, next week with podcast 28. And I can't say anything, and because if I do, I know it's all going to go to shit. But I am so fucking excited about next week's show, and I'm just praying that it all comes together and works, and we don't actually go to air on 27. And I have to use the words, sorry guys, this is just so big for us. Anyway.
Yeah, totally.
So that's basically it for podcast 27. Thanks for listening. Shout outs as usual. You're much better at this than I am,
okay, right
Velvet.
On.
So
okay. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Cult Movie Show. If you follow us on Twitter, we do follow back. We're all about the follow back. And also, if you want to follow me personally, you can follow me on my Twitter and Instagram, but please be 18 years or older since I do post adult content. So you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at OMG It's Velvet. And you can also follow my co-host if you're into model trains. And you can find him on Twitter at...
I do post some other stuff as well, you know.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
So you get to know his non-movie cult movie show side.
Yeah,
you can follow him on...
Sorry, I was just to say, my Twitter is a little bit like what I had for dinner and, and all that sort of stuff. It's pretty dull, but anyway.
See, he's a relatable guy. So you can follow him at Martini Super Dry. See, you should have had a Martini Super Dry while you're watching fucking Tetsuo, I think.
Oh, I needed about 5 of them.
Yeah.
I just needed to. I needed
10 minutes for the hour of the movie.
I needed a bottle of gin intravenously in one arm, a bottle of vermouth injected into the other, and I would have been all right. Oh my God. Anyway.
All right. Let's see. What else can I say? Oh, thank you, Alana Evans, for supplying the music at the end of the show. And if you have any suggestions for movies that you would like us to review, if you have a short film or an independent film that you want us to check out, go ahead and tweet us or private message us on Twitter. You can also email us at our email, cultmovieshow@gmail.com. And that is it. Take us home, Warren.
I suppose just finally I will also say, because we've found that we've got people listening to us over quite a spectrum of different styles. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, but you would prefer to use iTunes, you can listen to us on iTunes. If you're on iTunes, but you don't like the way iTunes works, you're a bit more Windows-based person, you can listen to us on YouTube. So there is actually more than one choice. So just to let people know that, we're simply just the Cult Movie Show. Go to YouTube, Cult Movie Show. Go to iTunes, we're Cult Movie Show. That was it. So I think that's it. That's a wrap. So thank you as always, Velvet. It's been, oh my God, it's been an interesting show. No, it's been good. It's been wonderful fun as always. So thank you so much. And
thank you too.
And we'll be back next week with podcast 28.
28.
Yes, 28.
Yeah.
And I'm just rambling now. So basically we'll be back next week with 28. And stay safe, and we'll talk to you again next week.
next week. Bye-bye.
See ya.